Hi guys, today I put together a list of 50 things all bookworms can relate to, and I'm filming in my room for the first time ever on my main channel, I think. Thank you to Pinterest and Tumblr and Instagram for inspiring some of these ideas, and here we go. You lose yourself in books, but you find yourself there too. The smell of old books, or new books, or any books, really. Joining a fandom can be the best thing you've ever done for yourself, but it can also be the worst thing. Bookmark? Oh, you mean quitter strip. When you've been inside a character's head for so long and it takes you a few minutes or hours or months to remember who you are and where you are and what life is, the better the book, the longer the recovery time. You love the idea of a library and you love going to a library and being at a library, but you like to buy and own copies of every book you read, which is kind of an expensive habit that I maybe need to stop. When teachers ask who read for pleasure or who's planning to over the summer or winter break and you're just like, no one really? It bothers you so much that some people see reading as uncool or pointless or only for school. Going along with that, you worry that books assigned by school are making people less likely to read on their own time or find their own types of books that they enjoy. You should read books and analyze them and think about them and talk about them in a class, but you should also read on your own time just for pleasure because it's a very different experience. Not understanding how people can say they don't like reading when obviously they haven't read every book on the planet, so how can they know? When you're reading a really good book and you want to stay up late and skip meals and your parents are just like, what's more important, books or your health? And you're just like, books are my health. Having to take a break and put a really great book down because you just can't see through the tears. And then that just makes you cry more because you want to keep reading. When a character shrugs or raises an eyebrow or laughs or makes an expression halfway between horror and amusement, you try it too. If you let someone borrow your own copy of a book that means a lot to you, that means you really love and trust that person a lot. When you do let someone borrow a book and you ask them to be careful and they're just like, oh, it's just a book, if I lose it or something, I'll just buy you a new copy. And you're just like, you know what, well, yeah, give it back, you're a good person overall, we can still be friends probably, I just hand it over. You just don't understand, I don't know what to say. That frustration that just washes over you when someone interrupts you in the middle of a really interesting or powerful or sad, when you're reading. When you're reading a book and someone comes over to ask what book it is, your idea of a great Friday night is reading a good book. When someone starts talking about the book they're reading and you're like, oh, what book is it? And they don't remember the title or the author, and you're just like, how? When your book is so good that you get lost in it as soon as you read the first word, no matter what's going on around you. Just one more page. One more chapter. Like 5 more minutes. Okay, just until I finish the book, and then I will do my homework and text that person back and eat dinner and go to sleep and stuff. Sometimes you get close to convincing yourself that the author has been stalking you because you just don't understand how they understand you or something you're going through or something you believe or feel and put it into words so perfectly. Wishing you could just freeze time and catch up on all the books you've been wanting to read. When you don't really like the beginning of the book or the first half of a book, but you know that it can kind of shift directions halfway through and you're not ready to give up on the characters or the story yet, just in case. Until I figured I would lose it, I never loved to read. One does not love breathing. Loving huge books or book series because you know you don't have to say goodbye to all the characters unless they die. When a minor character comes into the story and you immediately love them and want to know more, but then they just kind of fade out of the book and you don't hear from them again. Sometimes you love the side characters more than the main ones. When you hear people insulting a book or an author that means a lot to you and it just crushes you, or it's just a book, why do you care so much? Wishing you would be more like your favorite character. Knowing right away which characters you want to be together, even if it's like a very complicated love triangle, or square, or hexagon. Almost every good book you read is your new favorite book, but some of them just keep coming back. Laughing or crying or shuddering suddenly in the most random and inconvenient times because you just remembered what's happening in the book you're reading. What's going on in a book can sometimes affect your mood more than what's going on in your own life. Sometimes you like fictional characters a lot more than real people. Just like a bit. Knowing that everyone has a story and wishing you knew the stories of the people around you. When people say they don't read because they don't have time, or when you recommend a book to someone but they say they won't read it because they won't have time, it's just like, reading is more important than time. Make time! Almost every book you read changes your life in one way or another. Secretly worrying that you're never going to actually stay in love with a real person because you have unrealistically high expectations for romance and you're constantly comparing people to fictional characters. When part of a book is so exciting or scary or weird that you can't stop your eyes from flitting a few lines forward to get a glimpse of what might happen next. When people insult your fandom or disagree with a couple you ship or whether or not a book is good and you don't know whether you want to debate it with them or never talk to that person again. Having to wait for the author to write the next book and having to remind yourself constantly that it takes a lot of work and time to write a novel, but you will be able to read it eventually. The book is always better than the movie. When you read an amazing quote for the first time and it speaks to you so much that you just want to doodle it everywhere and post it on all the social media that's available to you and underline it 1,000 times and get it tattooed in 3 different places. Maybe not that last one, but still. When something huge suddenly happens with no transition or warning and you just have to sit there in shock for a while. Spending the entire day reading is the best way to spend a day and the fastest way to make a day go by. When you finish a good book and you either want to share it with everyone or keep it a secret to yourself because it just means so much to you. That feeling of accomplishment you get when you recommend a book to someone and they actually love it, and that feeling of frustration and disappointment when they don't. Maybe reading has inspired you to make your own stories. Click here to watch my list of 50 things all writers can relate to. Subscribe to see new videos every Tuesday, and please comment, share, or like this video if you want more of the same. Don't forget to comment your own relatable quotes or scenarios down in the comments below, and I will see you all next week. Bye. Can you not see what you've done? You gave your heart away like that and you want to fall in love with anyone but you, dear. I can still hear the song, the melody behind the kiss you gave me. You were wrong, I was right, so I walked away and left you in the background. No, come on. She bit me.
Hey, shut up and sit. I think
Like
that's
that?
just something that like you have to be able to like resolve by the end of the year.
Sometimes people get really annoying because they like make a goal and then they stick to it for like 3 days and then they don't.
Even if you know, like even if you don't accomplish it, like I just think it's important. I am obsessed with New Year's resolutions. I'm obsessed with time capsules. So on to the actual point of this video, 50 things that writers can relate to, or 50 things all writers or most writers experience. So if you are a writer or if you have written stories in the past, then you, like, I can pretty much guarantee that you will relate to at least a couple of these. Maybe villains are destined not to get their happy endings because they're evil and they don't deserve the happy ending, but she's not a villain anymore, and as long as she holds on to that, I just feel like she's gonna end up okay because she's a hero now. She's not a villain, I think. I've always really liked Regina too. I like all the villains.